We are
Okay,
recording.
so the first question is, please describe the role of the State Board of Education, the local school board, and the superintendent of schools. So do we want to just start with explain the State Board of Education?
Yeah.
Okay. What I had for that was that the state governor has the power to affect educational policy, and state legislature has a lot of power because they make the laws that govern and affect education within their state.
Yeah.
Sorry, my timer is being stupid. Okay. Yeah, I just had policymakers, set schools, priorities, standards, and assessments, reports to public, that kind of stuff.
That's what I have.
All right.
So, do you guys want to add something, or do you ready to move to the next one?
You guys had exactly what I have, so.
Yeah.
Okay. The next is the local school board.
I said represents the citizens of the district, setting up the school program, hiring personnel to operate the schools, determining organization. I kind of just didn't highlight, but spotted that whole thing in the paragraph.
I found it said school boards and superintendents are constantly in search for to provide funding and support for school programs. That's what a lot of the school board is about, is finding funding for programs and extracurriculars and stuff like that.
Yeah, and within that, I just noted that the raise money through taxes is something I noted.
Yeah. Are we good on that? Okay. The next one is superintendents.
So I had executive officer, educational leader, administrator, basically keeps school functioning.
Yeah, and also it's the superintendent is usually selected by the local school board, and the superintendent acts as they called it an executive officer and as an educational leader.
Yeah, and I said plans the budget and supervises the maintenance, construction, and renovation of school buildings.
Well, I just have from the last line of the book, the major policymaker in the district.
All right, are we good? Okay. How are schools in the state of Kansas funded? So from what I found, Kansas schools rely on a mix of state, local, and federal revenue. And from my personal experience, I know, when I was in Kansas public school, that we did a lot of fundraisers, nights where it was basically to get money for the school. I remember when I went to East, we had Chick-fil-A would battle against another high school to raise money for whatever school ate the most Chick-fil-A and stuff like that.
Are we doing the funding for the school?
Yeah.
Yeah, how are schools in the state of Kansas funded?
Did we skip the school principal and the biggest influence?
Oh, wait, did I skip one?
Yeah, there's two. What is the role of the school principal?
Oh, okay, sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry.
So I had a couple different things under school principal, but the main thing that I had starred and highlighted was manage, supervise, and inspect. Those are the three big honchos for it.
Yeah. I just have the whole list of what they do, the interview teachers, make teaching assignments, which I don't really supervise and evaluate staff members, schedule students, and students' classes. I feel that's not just the principal. I mean, maybe at my school, I feel a lot of those duties that they list is what the counselor did. So I don't know if my school just did it different because it's small.
Because they mentioned the elementary are usually multiple different buildings. Do you think your principal might have been in charge of multiple different buildings and different stuff like that, so they weren't?
We had a principal for my elementary school, and then my senior year, we only had one principal for the high school and middle school because it's connected. So
Wait, where do you live again? Did you say you live in like Rossville or something?
Wellsville.
Okay.
Wellsville, yep.
Gotcha.
Let's go with the next one. What was the biggest influence on American public education? I had the quote, ask educators who the most influence in determining children's success, and most of them would say the parents. So I
Okay,
put
that's
parents down because of that quote in there.
yeah, I have parents are their children's first and primary teachers and the only ones who will follow a child's progress from year to year. It's kind of sticking with them, and yeah, it's something that's usually not new.
Yeah, teachers come and go, but like parents are always throughout everything.
Yeah, and then even with like home lives, anything that's happening within their home life is going to affect however a child learns and how a child succeeds. So whatever the atmosphere that the parents are creating.
How supportive they are.
Yeah.
How are we doing on time?
We have 9 minutes left for 3 questions, so we're okay.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Um,
Are we ready to move on to the school funding?
Yeah. I said what I needed to say about that, but you guys.
Yeah.
I looked it up and it was like, I didn't go into detail like you, but like it has like state, local, and like federal funding, and I just like put down the numbers, and I have like 56% state fund, a little over, and then a little over for local fund is 36, a little over 36% for local fund, and then for federal fund about 7%.
No, that's literally exactly what I had written down. I think we looked at the same site, and I just noted.
I think we probably all just Googled the question.
Mostly state, but also local, very little federal is what I put down. So, I think, like you stated, Summer, I think a lot of schools are responsible for their own fundraising.
Yeah, especially the schools, I guess you'd say, like urban schools that aren't in the greatest areas and like more poverty rate. They have a lot, like they do get a lot of funding from the state and stuff like that, but a lot of it is like parents and teachers and, you know.
Well, it's locals 36%. So
Yeah.
because all that state fund is going to keeping up probably the school itself.
Mhm.
You know, paying teacher, like it's not just like not enough.
All right. Do we want to go on to each member briefly states what really stood out to you in Teach Like a Pirate for the first part? All right.
Yeah.
Summer, do you want to
How like what page did you guys read to?
I
for
read
Teach Like a Pirate.
part 2, which was page 71.
I honestly don't know what page I read to. I don't have my book with me.
Okay, well, I was confused on like what meant by chapter 1. I didn't know if chapter 1 was part 1. I didn't know if it was passion 3 to 13. Like I didn't know like what.
Oh, wait, I think what I did. I think I read.
That's what I did because I was like I didn't think you wanted us to read 71 pages, so I only read passion.
I read till part 2 because when I looked on the syllabus, it was like April 10th test on part 1, so I assumed it was the whole thing is what he wanted.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you my favorite part of passion.
Okay.
I actually wrote on the sticky notes. Just a second. I put like it's hard for me to get into most books. They kind of have to be like I don't know, a really good beginning. I can't just get into a boring book. But this one was I could get into because as he talked about in passion, like you have to be passionate, and when you're passionate, you can listen to people. And he was talking about that story, how he doesn't necessarily like anything about birds, I think, but he could listen to that man talk for hours just because he was so passionate about it. And that's how I felt about this. Because he was so passionate about telling us like what to do to be more passionate, and it made me it made me just want to learn more and want to, yeah, that's what I think.
I liked that he like made it clear like from the very beginning, like obviously you're not always going to be passionate about every like subject, everything you teach as a teacher, but he broke it down into like 3 different categories, and it was content passion, professional passion, and personal passion. And so it kind of was like a motivation way to be like, oh, you may not like this, but like look at it this way, you know, type thing. I like that he broke it down because obviously as a teacher there's going to be things that you really like to teach and things you don't, and so you don't want to like just rush through the things you don't like and not make the students intrigued just because you aren't passionate about it. So I like that he touched on that.
Yeah. So my part that I pulled out, because I read the whole part one, is from the Ask and Analyze one. And it's for a story called The 6 Words. And what it is he was meeting with another teacher, and she was like, well, it's easy for you because you're creative. So like, it's easier for you. And so I pulled out some of the quotes from that of, it wasn't easy when I started. It wasn't easy last week. And it won't be easy next week either. It's not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be worth it. So that was something that I really liked. And then he was saying that she was basically saying that since she wasn't given the particular trait of creativity, that she is excused from doing the same hard work that he put in. And that she basically dismissed 16 years of hard work and planning and doing all this, putting in all this work to make his class the way it was. And she kind of dismissed that just by saying, oh, well, you're creative, so you're fine. And I really liked that because I've heard the like, well, you're just creative in that area used as a like excuse a lot, and I've even used it, and that kind of made me like realize that and be like, well, maybe I just wasn't putting in as much hard work as other people. And so I really like the quotes of it. So
Yeah, I like that because it's like, it's so easy to be like, oh, you're just creative, but no matter what, it still takes work, you know?
yeah.
And you don't want to like discredit how much, like a good athlete, for example, you know, it's like, oh, well, you're just athletic. Like, no, I've practiced. I've been doing this for like a long time.
We have 3 more minutes. So Emily, do you want to say your favorite part?
Yeah, so I gotta admit, I'm like dead tired right now, so my thoughts are like all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when reading about the passion,
Hello?
I was kind of reflecting on like, Wes, can you hear me?
No.
You cut in and out, yeah.
Okay, it keeps freezing on my end too. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Is it going? Okay. Well, basically,
Yeah, I can't hear you.
And I don't think
trying
it's
to
cutting
think
out.
about how I can like,
Can you send it in
yeah,
the
just how I'll let my passion,
Hey, Emily?
like,
How much time do we have?
We have only like 1 minute, but it's I think it's all right if we go a little bit over, just not 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Well, I think my internet connection is working. I'll just sum it. Sorry, I'll try and sum it into one sentence and be. I guess I was thinking about how I'll let my. I don't know how I'll let my passion, drive me even during the, unpleasant parts. I guess I'll try and let the good outweigh the bad. I'm not explaining this very well,
It's okay.
but yeah.
No, I get what you're saying.
All right. And then one thing we took away from mock teaching?
I think for me personally, I just did a mock teaching on how to make Rice Krispie treats. And so my whole thing was like, I guess just like confidence and overthinking it, because I was like, okay, I only have one bag of marshmallows, and the grocery stores are sold out of everything, so I can't mess this up. I think just like being confident at first, I feel like in the video you could kind of tell my words were like, I was a little shaky, but like after like the first part of the video, I was like, okay, this isn't so bad. I feel like confidence just overall is like, if you're confident in what you're teaching and you sound confident, like your teaching is gonna be better.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I would try to explain something, and sometimes like I did my video in like takes of it, and I would have to keep redoing it because I couldn't explain it like how I wanted it. Like I could hear it in my head, but it wasn't coming out the right way.
Yeah, it's like you knew what you meant, but
I wasn't coming out the way I wanted it to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think videos are a little bit harder because you're a lot more critical on yourself because you can rewatch it again and again before you submit it. But if you were just in class, you could have done it full out and just done one thing. Something that I like got from him is like working on conclusion. For me, it was very much of like, I need to realize like time management, because I had this whole big, huge lesson. And then I was like, okay, you need to cut it down to this much. Okay, you need to cut it down. You got 7 minutes, keep cutting it. And so I had to keep changing it and cutting it down because I did this whole lesson thinking it would take 7 minutes when it probably would have taken an hour.
Yeah.
That's what I learned.
Yeah, I feel like for me, I was just overthinking the whole thing. Like, why it's not like, I don't know, I just like, oh, it has to be perfect, it has to be super interesting. But no, mine was another cooking tutorial. Because, yeah.
Yeah. No, because that's what I asked. I wasn't sure if it had to be like an educational lesson or just like anything we wanted. And when I emailed him, he was like, oh yeah, I can be anything. Like, I just want to see your teaching style. So I think like that was kind of cool because, I don't know.
Yeah, I did a teaching one just for funsies, and I put like a little, like a Miss Danielle on my wall.
I made a little whiteboard. I have it right here.
Yeah, I went all out. I got in my teaching clothes and everything.
Oh, guys, I looked like I just woke up because I did. I literally had Rice Krispie treats for breakfast. Oh.
I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording. We can keep talking about like stuff, but I don't want it to be too long for them. So I'll stop it here. If anybody has anything else to say.
Yeah. I mean, I'm good if you guys are good.
All right.